Welcome to the Kush Vibez podcast, the very first episode of the Kush Vibez podcast with the owner and founder of Kush Vibez CBD Dispensary in Ruston, Louisiana, and very soon coming to Shreveport?
Bossier, Louisiana.
Bossier, there you go. All right. And lots of plans for the future as well. My man, Ray Holbrook. Ray, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good.
I am so excited to get this started with you, Ray. I met you, I guess, about 3 weeks ago now.
Definitely.
You'd already been opened and running here for several months at that point, but I immediately said, oh, Ray, we got to do a podcast, which was something that was already on your mind. It worked really well that we could fit in like this and get going.
Exactly.
The thing that I wanted to do in this first episode, and you've got some big plans for this show and for the store and for your next store coming to Bossier, and for the brand of Kush Vibez long term. But the thing that I wanted to do today was to share with everybody that doesn't get to come into the store on a regular basis or that hasn't yet who Ray is, what Kush Vibez is, and where it all came from. So let's start with you. Who is Ray Holbrook? Where you come from, man? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Long journey. Man, well, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. So grew up there. Just me, my mom, my sister, my dad, you know what I mean? Different things like that. So strong family ties. It's just been a long journey, man. I think, what else would they want to know? I mean, went to Mumford High School, you know what I mean?
Nice.
Go Mustangs. So, that's really about it.
So,
it's hard talking about me sometimes.
Yeah, no, I understand that. How does a guy from Michigan end up in North Louisiana? You don't
Okay.
have family here. You don't have ties to the community, otherwise than what you've built now.
Definitely.
So how did you end up in Ruston?
Man, I ended up coming to Grambling State University. So I ended up
Go
doing some
Tigers.
research. Yeah, man, go Grambling, man. So ended up doing some research. I played in a band big time in
Nice.
Detroit.
What's your
something.
instrument?
Man, percussion. So drums, cymbals, the whole nine. I just love music. It really changed my life. You know what I mean? With just giving me something productive, something that I can work on and just build a craft that can just follow with you through life. It was crazy.
So what was your biggest positive coming from a big city like Detroit to a small area like Grambling and Ruston?
Man, it was more focused down here. It's less white noise. You know, in the city, it's so much going on. You can get pulled in so many different directions. You know what I mean? With Grambling, it's just, you know how small this area is.
Yeah. Insular.
Yeah,
almost
man.
in a way, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very, and it's a tight-knit community, and that has positives and negatives too, right? It's hard to get in to the circle. But on the same time, when you are in, when you have the connections that we have in a small town like this, it does feel like people are more interconnected, more interdependent. And that's a positive thing. Once you get on the inside, it can feel a little rough as a newcomer, I would imagine, though, right?
Yeah, with all societies, man. And just even with Grambling and Ruston together, Grambling embraced me so much. You know, coming down here, it's like family. You know what I mean? So having that handoff, moving from the Grambling community to the Ruston community, I already kind of knew some people because it's so intermingled. So like I said, it's still just like family, man. Even with people that come in the store, we're connected some kind of way through this area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the beautiful thing about being down here.
So let's talk about cannabis a little bit. What is your
Definitely.
history with cannabis? For me, I'll tell you to start with.
Yeah.
I discovered it in high school.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of people do when you're not supposed to. But it was something that I was an anxious kid. Let's put it like that. And I was anxious about all the negatives that I had heard about cannabis before I was exposed to it personally. And what I found in my first couple of uses was that there was a level of anxiety regulation that I had not had access to previously in my life. And that was the number one thing. You know, people talk about the high, and the high is fun if that's what you're looking for. But the benefits of the plant were so immediately accessible and obvious to me that it started what has now been a lifelong love affair, I think,
Real.
since that time.
Seriously.
So what was your first exposure to it, and what was the context in which you were exposed?
Man, it's gonna be a long one.
No, that's good, though. That's good.
Man, I grew up hanging out with my grandmother a lot, hence me drinking tea.
Right.
And we talked about herbs and spices and how, back way when they would grow everything and how if it comes from the earth, it's good for you and this, and this. So me being around that, when I really got introduced to cannabis, my mom's gonna be mad, around early high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? it just kind of was like, man, this is the stuff that grandma was talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was like, it's a natural thing. And like I told you when we first met, I've always seen it as a vehicle.
Mm.
You know what I mean? A vehicle to kind of soften the edges of hard times, or a vehicle to kind of help with like expression, or like I've always been into art,
Right.
always. And like with that, it was just kind of something that elevated or gave me that calmness where I can zone in and just hear, see nothing else but the artwork or what I'm into at that point in time, like even the music. So that's why I was like, man, cannabis did so much with opening those doors to where you can say it just dropped the anxiety to where you can really focus on what you're doing. Because when I'm the same way. Like when you're super anxious all the time, it kind of widens your scope so much where it's hard to focus.
You know, it's funny, Ray, trying to think back to those early high school days is when
It's
it's
a
like,
lot going on.
what was I anxious about?
Right,
You know,
right.
Like in comparison to what I'm facing today. You know, I'm a father of 4. I'm a small business owner. I'm trying to work and build a business in the middle of a pandemic. You know, all these things that are going on, our national turmoil, the international affairs that we're worried about. Also the fact that today compared to, you know, the 90s when you and I were growing up, we're exposed to so much more. Anything that happens anywhere in the world, you and I can hear about, unless we specifically tune it out.
Exactly.
So that anxiety has only climbed for me over the years.
Yes.
You mentioned cannabis being a vehicle, or the way that you conceptualize it, it's a vehicle. I was thinking it's a tool, right? And a tool can be very useful for some and less useful for others, or less direct for others.
Throw my mask on, Joel. I'm out here.
There you go.
Naked face, man.
No, you're all right. Well, we're being very safe. We are at a distance here a little
Definitely,
bit. I've got my
definitely.
mask on for sure. It's one of those things that we have to be aware of, though, in this day and age. And again, it's one of those things that adds to our anxiety. But talking about cannabis as a tool, the way I see it is, just like some people prefer a Mac laptop to a Windows laptop. Some people prefer Android to iOS. Some people prefer a typewriter to a word processor or a computer, right? It's about the tool that is useful and applicable to you.
Correct. And it's
Just
correct ways to use tools.
Yes, and
Correct.
there's ways to abuse them
Correct.
or to overuse them, et cetera, et cetera. And to me, cannabis has always been that tool. But the sad thing about the legal status of cannabis for most of our lifetime has been that you're only ever allowed maybe one option, effectively. You know, if you are even willing to go through the black market or whatever, it's not like you're going to have a range of products like you're looking at behind us here. You don't have the variety of manufacturers or companies that are working to achieve the ends that the different users and clients are trying to get. That's the other thing, man. There's no oversight, right? And you and I have talked many times about how sometimes oversight and regulation can be a problem. But at the same time, the fact that I can buy a product here in your store and there's literally a label where I can see when it was tested, what the quantities of each chemical compound are, what the other ingredients are, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas I don't care where you're living, your dealer is not offering those things, right? It's not something that you and I have had access to. So as we moved into this modern era, what the products that you see here in the store are cannabis, but they are specifically CBD and CBD variants, right? What we don't have a lot of here is THC, which is the thing that we have all thought of for all this time as the active ingredient in marijuana and cannabis. But there's more to it than that. There's so much more to it than that. So when did you begin to discover the varieties of cannabinoids and how they can be applied and used?
Man, so this is a funny story. So my previous job, they were like, "Hey guys, we're gonna start drug testing. We have new regulations, blah 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 blah." And that was a major blow to me because I was like, "Man, I use this to stay calm, to stay relaxed, so I don't bring my problems into other people's therapeutic interventions and time, and workshops and
Right.
different things like that for them to get together." So removing the cannabis from my life at that time, it's like, man, you know what? This is a major thing that helps me stay relaxed and calm, and able to zone in and give my full self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I started researching other alternatives. And when I started researching other alternatives, I started running into like CBD. And I'm like, what is CBD?
Right.
So the more I looked into it, I'm a curious guy, man, by nature. I'm
Sure.
always messing with something or taking something apart. So I'm like, man, I'm researching this and it doesn't have THC in it, but it is THC. And as I started doing more research and more research, I started finding out that THC is not the predominant, just the all in all of the plant. I mean, it's over 100 plus cannabinoids, 450 fatty acids and enzymes, and just a whole nother world behind that one plant compound.
Right.
And that's when I started looking into the actual uses. And it just started blowing my mind how this plant could do so much and have so much versatility within it for the same, how to put it, we all can take it and have an individual effect or an individual kind of experience with it with the same thing.
Right.
And that blew my mind. And once I saw that, man, I just started digging in and going deeper and deeper and dedicating more time to the point where I was like, I have to grow this plant. So my wife was like, Ray, don't start a project. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just going to Lowe's real quick. I'll be right back. So I started dabbling and looking into the cannabis plant and researching and watching other growers, looking at soil, and just really seeing that. And then I got introduced to the endocannabinoid system.
Right.
And it showed that we even have a system that produces these things and does all of that. So when I seen that, how it goes hand in hand, it blew my mind. And I was like, I got to be a part of this.
That's there was a documentary that I watched. This was only about 5, maybe 10 years ago now. I can't remember what I think it was. Maybe What If Cannabis Cured Cancer or something like that. But that was the first exposure that I had to the endocannabinoid system. The idea that inbuilt in us are these receptors that their only purpose is to capture cannabinoids and process them for the body. And when you hear that, well, it's hard to think to yourself anything other than this is meant for us. We were, I mean, I don't know, this is not a show where we talk about religion, but no matter what your view of the construction of the universe or the order of the universe, that's an example that these two things happen together. The human system and this plant of cannabis are meant to be applied to one another. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the legality a little bit and where you said your introduction to CBD was because of a new implementation of drug tests. So where does the legality lie, and why is this so different than THC in that, all of your branding has no prescription needed for Kush Vibez CBD Dispensary here in Ruston, and it's going to be the same for the Bossier store too. That's so different. We're in Louisiana. The medical marijuana laws here are very stringent. There are no smokable options at all. It's all about tinctures. I think there's some balms maybe that you can buy.
Exactly.
But first of all, you have to have a prescription. It's a very limited number of ailments that can allow you a subscription or prescription, excuse me. And then even once you get it, you're limited on how often you can buy. There's very limited pharmacies throughout the state that are allowed to sell it. Yep. What is the difference, and why is this legal and open and available and regular traditional THC and cannabis is not?
So the law has labeled cannabis basically different. They didn't do it by the species. They did it by the one cannabinoid, which is THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. So within that, they're saying basically that if it's over 0.30, that it's marijuana. And if it's under, it's hemp. But the wild thing, man, is America was built on hemp. Yeah, I know. We got some customers, but hopefully I locked the door. I'm sorry, y'all. We're going to have to let you in later.
This is a perfect example, though. I want to highlight this, Ray. I would have said when I first saw your signs, when I first saw the store, I thought,
definitely.
Boy, I wonder how Ruston's going to take to it.
Definitely.
Let's cut in there for a minute. Since we've had that opportunity, how has Ruston taken to it? Every time I come in here, you're jumping. You're as full as you would want a pandemic time store to be.
Exactly. Man, Ruston took us in, like I say, with open arms, man. And I thought it was going to be a group of church ladies out here ready to jump me the first day. So I'm like, man, this is going to be bad, but I got to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And like I said, from looking up and researching so much, and seeing how this affects us so many different ways, I was like, this is going to help somebody.
Yeah.
That I was rolling the dice on it like, this is going to help more people than it pisses off.
Yes.
And honestly, man, when people start rolling in and seeing the benefits, the effects, we changed so many naysayers. It was crazy.
And you wish that people could be more empathetic, that they could put themselves in somebody else's shoes in a more natural, a quicker way.
Exactly.
But so often, Ray, it takes a personal experience.
Yes.
My brother had chronic back pain.
Yeah.
And went to see Ray, and he's off of the ongoing pain relievers that he was taking.
Yeah.
And he's just got the CBD tincture that he's using now. It's perfect.
Yeah. And the people are the billboards.
Yes,
The people are their stories, their interactions, that when they come across us and they leave out of here and they talk to family and friends about how it has helped them, that's why it's so busy, because it's your own family members, your own colleagues, your own coworkers that it's like, hey, this has changed my life. You know, so that's crazy.
Let's go back to the legality for a little while again now. The interesting thing to me, Ray, because of that, the way that it was written up and that it's just that chemical compound, THC, Delta-9 THC, what's so funny is that anytime somebody spells it out like that, I immediately go to an Eazy-E song in my head.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the thing for me is, it's sort of like I tell my kids a lot of times, hey, if I give you a blank page, it might be hard for you to come up with something creative to do on that page. But if I give you constraints, if I put you in a box and say you can't do X, you can't do Y, now what do you want to do? The ideas might spring quicker because of the constraints.
Exactly.
I think the same thing has happened here in that because the ingredient, the compound that everyone was so focused on for all of the modern history of cannabis anyway, you know, basically from the 30s on, you know, from prohibition on in the United States at least, we've had to turn away from that. These companies that want in on the cannabis market have had to turn away from that to get to the broader United States market and sell, you know, nationwide. What it's done is it's caused creativity. And if you look over here, you've got traditional flower. Yeah, you got some great jars and some great brands and strains.
Definitely.
But you've also got these prepackaged products, which I think are so cool, a variety of gummies, of edibles. And I'm imagining the kinds of edibles that you're looking at stocking are just going to grow over time as you see what the market here wants.
Definitely.
But also there's tinctures, there's balms, there's pet products is something that I'm seeing a lot of here. But there's also, you've got the hash, you've got the keef, you've got the concentrates, the shatter, all these different options.
Everything.
And not just the ways in which you're going to ingest the product, but also the specific strains and the cannabinoid mixture that they're coming up with for each one of these strains is so varied, because they're like, hey, what if somebody's got anxiety and pain, but they don't want to get high at all?
Right,
okay, cool, I got you something for that.
It is a lot of those.
What if I just want the psychotropic effects? We got some of that too.
Definitely.
Okay, cool.
Definitely.
What if all you want is the anxiety reduction? We got that. What if all you want's the pain reduction? We got that taken care of. Is that what you're seeing too in your exposure to this and,
Man, definitely.
and continued expansion of the store?
Definitely. And my biggest kick out of it is educating people. Every time you come in, I'm teaching somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it really shows, man, once people can understand that, like I said, they go and they educate people, and it's just a domino effect. Because like you said, it just shows that we're using the same thing for different outcomes. And it's just like you said, going back to the law, when everybody is so many people now here getting turned away from medical marijuana. I mean, with serious injuries, but it doesn't qualify. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the big thing is America was built on hemp. I mean, hemp played such an instrumental part throughout history. It's really coming back. It's not the first time.
Right.
So a lot of medicine had marijuana in it back before. You know what I mean?
Tremendous amount, yeah.
Tons of it. So we're really just getting back to nature and going backwards to do things that are really beneficial for our health now. And how to put it, we're such in a health conscious era right now with the pandemic and all of this stuff going on that it's just needed. And it's making us, like you said, it's making those perimeters so tight to where we have to look at the versatility of this plant and look like, hey, you know what? We can't use it for this, but look what else we have left.
Right.
Like you cracked the joke in the story. You was like, man, it's more to the Jackson 5 than Michael Jackson.
There was a whole band there.
Tito has some good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, man. So that helps by making people focus, like you say, to see the variety when they come in the store. Facial creams and, like you say, massage oils,
bath bombs,
tons of stuff.
The pet products in particular is something that I'm excited to try.
Definitely
for my own doggo. I got a dog who is thunder averse. Let's just say that. Anytime there's a little bit of rain outside, she
going
gets
nuts.
super tight. and stays that way until the storm is gone, you know?
Yeah.
So again, if we can lower her anxiety, provide her a little bit of pain relief and anxiety reduction with just a drop or two. Particularly, I mean, I see brochures for products over there that are actually like infused dog bones and things like that. So again, these companies are trying to get into this market, and they see the interest from, as we continue to see in your store, a huge variety of demographics.
Definitely.
It's not just people like you and me that grew up in the 90s on rap music that were like, oh, yeah, okay, I know what cannabis is and I like it, but now I got a real job, so I got to use CBD instead of whatever. No, it's not just that. It's grandma and it's grandpa and it's businessmen and businesswomen and it's young people and old people and everywhere in between. Let's talk about, and I know we're going to get into more of this as the show continues, and I think as current events pop up and specific things pop up in politics here in the States, I know you're going to get focused on some specific topics. Democrats are now in charge of all three branches of government, and it looks like they are going to make a move on marijuana decriminalization or legalization in some variety. But this is something that you and I have talked a lot about that is good news on the one hand, but it's got a lot of potential pitfalls.
Yeah, it's a 50-50.
And again, that's a good example of a place where you can help educate people as these things go along so that they can talk to their representatives and say, hey, we want this, not that. We want that, not this.
Exactly.
There are aspects to this where we could end up with a more regulated system, a higher barrier to entry for customers and clients and people that need this medicine than what we have now, even with the CBD products.
Yeah, and it's and like you say, it's more about who's their specific ideology. You know what I mean? The different representatives, not really the party.
Right.
So a lot of people get that confused. They're like, man, Democrats, they're going to legalize it, but like you said, is it going to be restrictions? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be so tight?
Is it going to be all in government-owned stores?
Yes.
You know, like you see, there's a lot of states where the only place you can buy high-level alcohol is in a government-run, you know, the what do they call them, ACB stores or whatever, ABC stores, where it's the alcohol and beverage control that literally runs that business effectively. I don't personally, that's not a place where I want to get to. It's one of my problems with the Louisiana medical marijuana laws that there's no home cultivation allowed for
That's a horrible
patients.
idea. That's a horrible idea.
I think it's a beautiful thing that we have allowed patients in Louisiana, even as limited as it is, but people who are dying of cancer, who have terminal illnesses, who have chronic pain.
They should have direct access.
You got to give them access to the plant. I'm glad they have done something here, but the idea that those people, if they're physically capable or if they have a partner who's physically capable of cultivating the plant, this is something that grows in the ditch. Man, I mean, you and I were joking, when I was in high school, you drive by the car wash, all in the ditch by the car wash, there'd be a bunch of weed growing because people dumped out their
They shaking rugs out there.
Shaking their floorboards out there full of seeds and stems, right?
Yeah.
This plant grows wild. Like, it literally grows wild.
Yeah, we're banning nature.
You can't stop it from growing effectively. And the idea that you put in these hoops that people have to jump through to have access to a medicine that you're already admitting is capable, I think that is just no good at all.
It's
so
terrible.
If that's the kind of legality that we're going to get at the national level, I say I'd rather not. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
You know?
And I wanna use my voice in this podcast, and like people who follow us, we need to rally to push for CBD and cannabis to be regulated like alcohol and tobacco.
Absolutely.
It doesn't need to be a schedule because just like you were saying, based in Louisiana, with the science, using the science to testify to it. The science is different terpenes, flavonoids, different things like that come from different strains. If my local dispensary is not growing it, and I'm looking for a beta-mersaline terpene that helps with my pain and my chronic joint and nerve pain, I'm just out of luck. And that's one reason right there that we need home cultivation, because once again, like I was saying, the plant is so diverse in so many different ways. I may need hydroponic. I might can't deal with the certain pesticides that this company uses. I may be allergic to it. I may want you know what I mean? I may want aeroponic because I have certain beliefs or whatever. So it just kind of it closes the window to healing people.
Well, and in a world where home brewing and home winemaking and all these things are so prevalent and so popular among a niche audience anyway, it's absurd that you can't do that with cannabis either. And I think we'll get there long term, but it is going to take people staying actively involved and people educating themselves about
And knowing
the
what you're
difference.
knowing what you're talking about.
And watching what our representatives and our senators are doing and what they're actually putting into law.
Definitely.
And just making sure that we call them to account and make sure that we get the outcome that we the people want.
Definitely.
I think you see it already here in super small conservative Ruston, North Louisiana. You see the variety of people that are coming in, loving the product, loving the benefits that they get in their lives. It's not going to take long with other stores like yours throughout this country for people to begin to demand. And so that's what we're trying to do here. That's one of the things that we're trying to do. Let's talk a little bit about the long-term goals that you have for the store. What are some of the products, the next waves of things that you're thinking about carrying, and what's kind of next on the Kush Vibez Ruston agenda? And then we'll talk about Bossier separately.
Man, with Ruston, it's really just getting people educated. We want to open up more classes, teach people like how to cook with it, about the different, like how to put it, the different herb differences. You know what I mean? Terpene profiles. We want to just really train the community. Even if you don't shop with us, we want to have it to where when you guys do go other places, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Case example, this was funny, but it wasn't funny. So I had an elderly couple. They came and they're like, "Hey, we want to find this." So they already had one. It had no test results on it. It told how much. I mean, it didn't say how much milligrams of CBD was in it. It didn't even have CBD on the bottle. So things like that, I want to educate this group, our community, to when they do leave and go out of town, because CBD is so popular, you can find it anywhere, but are you finding good CBD?
Right.
And that's one thing that would really mean a lot to me, is to have somebody say, "Hey, I don't shop with you, but through watching your show, through watching you on Facebook, Instagram, social media, I've learned X, Y, and Z, and it's been helping me because I can cipher through good and bad products."
Right. Speaking of, we're going to put the links to all of these in the show notes, the description on the YouTube video and on the podcast as well. But let's just tell everybody,
Definitely.
how can we find you on Instagram and Facebook? Your Instagram in particular, I think, is great. Facebook, they limit a lot of what you can show. You're
Definitely.
still talking about new product arrivals and things like that.
Definitely.
But you can't do the displays sometimes that you can do on other platforms.
Yeah, Facebook don't like us, man.
Well, I think it's just, and again, it's one of those places where cannabis continues to be in a weird gray area.
Struggle.
You and I were talking earlier about payment processors.
Yes.
A lot of payment processors won't even deal with you. And even the ones that will sometimes have weird strictures, or all of a sudden on a Friday they decide
They box you in with new regulations. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I just think it's because so many states have moved ahead of the federal government on cannabis in general. And then the CBD question specifically is misunderstood by the community at large. I'm a cannabis advocate. I'm a cannabis fan and a cannabis user. And even I didn't realize that CBD was legal nationwide. When the first time I came into you, I talked about a podcast I'd heard advertising a farm, a grower from the Northwest somewhere.
Definitely.
That was shipping nationwide. And I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be a loophole. What are they doing?
It's crazy.
I bet my package would get picked up if I ordered.
Yeah.
And I hadn't ordered specifically because I didn't understand the legal.
You're like, is
question.
this the feds?
Yeah, is this a honey trap? I don't know. So I think that is it's going to be an evolving issue for anybody in this industry, and any users too are still left out in this sort of like, man, I don't know, can I, or what can I, et cetera. It's one of the things that I love about your setup here. Every purchase that you make, you get a cool little thank you bag. It's beautiful. You get your product down in there nice, but you also hand out a flyer.
Exactly.
A little printed flyer that has a message to law enforcement. Exactly. And yes, that message theoretically is, if you get pulled over, that shows what you got there. But I think it's a great education opportunity for every one of your customers too. They know the law now. They've got it right there written out for them, why this product is legal, why it's different than traditional THC marijuana, and why what they're doing here is completely above board. What you're doing here is completely above board.
Definitely. And it's even on some of the packaging. I know in further episodes we'll get into like product review and different things like that. But we still keep that in mind when we are choosing farms and different vendors to interact with. Hey, we want to make sure that you guys are also protecting our customers when they leave.
Yeah.
So if it's not on the package, I do feel a certain way. Like, hey, when my people leave, I want them to make it home safe.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a major thought behind that. And I give people the paper not only to show, but to also learn from, to say, hey, you know what? Let me look up the 2018 Farm Bill. Let me look up industrial hemp. Let me look up what law enforcement thinks about it. Because if you do know that, it helps law enforcement with not wasting time. You know what I mean? Wasting an hour on the side of the road trying to figure out what the heck this is.
Right.
When you could just tell them, hey, it's this, this, and this. Here's my receipt. Okay. Hey, have a good day. You know what I mean?
And
it
that's
just
the
helps
end of the
everybody.
conversation.
Yeah.
And again, it's you don't want to make extra work for them. You don't want to provide extra anxiety for your customers in that moment of, oh, I got pulled over for a tail light or something.
Yeah.
Now I got to worry about the bag that I got in here.
Everybody goes home safe.
It's a really beautiful thing, and I think that's only going to become clearer and better for people as the education continues and as we get our representatives and our government caught up to that too. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Bossier store. Well, first of all, we've told you social media. Let's talk about this location. If you're in North Louisiana, you're ready to come by here.
Definitely.
What's the address here, Ray?
So it's 929 North Trenton in Ruston, Louisiana, and we're right across from the public library.
And I know personally, because I've been in here a couple of times, you're getting a lot of visitors over from Monroe, West Monroe. You've gotten a couple from Shreveport and Bossier, I think, already too,
Definitely.
right? Because they don't currently have access to anything like this.
They do. They have a couple stores out there. We're just doing a little different.
Yeah.
You know, providing more of an experience to go along with the CBD. And that's why people are really making that trip.
So where's the location in Bossier, and when are you going to be open?
So last time you asked me, I didn't remember.
That's right.
But it's going to be on Texas Ave and Airline, right across from Smoothie King and right across from the mall.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be a really nice setup.
And how close to opening are we?
Man, you know what? We're really trying to make plans to, I'm thinking 420. I think it's only right. I think it's only right. Yeah.
I got married on 420. I did.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. So you're a little over a month away now, about 2 months at this point away from opening that store. What is the layout going to be like there compared to here? You can see with the camera, we got about 3/4 of the store in the frame for you here. You got a nice big counter space. You've got flour below and behind the counter. You've got your packaged products down towards one end. And the variety of things that you offer here includes the tinctures, you got bath bombs, you got some oils, you've got the keef and the shatter and the concentrate like we talked about, the flour, as well as the balms. My wife uses a roll-on.
The roll-ons are crazy.
That is, oh man, it's so great for pain. I've used it a couple of times on my back, and it is fantastic. If you had you strain yourself one day, or maybe you work out a little too hard or whatever, you hit one of those roll-ons and you'll be rolling. Is there going to be any extra product there? Is there a big difference to the layout, or is it basically going to be kind of a mimic to this footprint?
Man, you know what? My major thing when we're putting these together is just really making it creative and providing that experience and provide like that vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From the music to the paint on the wall,
right,
to the flooring. So I think it's still kind of up in the air, but we want just a versatile kind of experience to where, how to put it, I really want something where you can touch and interact with the cannabis. And I'm trying to think a little ahead because COVID isn't going to be forever. So
right.
I'm claiming that.
Right. Well, no, I'm with you. I mean, look, it's obviously already taken longer than we thought it was going to.
Yes.
And now with clearer eyes, I think we can see the tail off of this thing is going to be longer than we thought it was going to be too. But you are absolutely right.
It's going to come to an end.
There will be a time when we've got this under control, and normal is going to be different.
Yeah.
But there will be a normal again.
Yeah.
We won't always be in COVID time. So as you're angling towards that, this hands-on feel, the smell, the experience, that's going to be more of what you're talking about. Is there any conception, or do you have any plans to do, like, is there a tasting lounge in the future potentially?
Man, you know what?
Is that something that you're thinking about?
I can't poke the law that hard.
I was wondering. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, man. In the future.
Right.
When
some laws have changed.
Yeah. When I can move some laws around. But yeah, man, the new store is going to just be an experience within itself. Product wise, we're going to always make sure that Ruston gets what Bossier gets, and on and on and on. So you're not missing anything.
Right.
We may have some exchanges to where, um, one may have something a little special, the other one may have something a little special, but they'll be equal in value.
Right.
So that's one major thing that I hold dear to my heart is having all stores the same, to where all customers are getting that same good experience.
Well, and you could imagine a scenario in which maybe the market here asks for a specific thing that the market there doesn't want, and vice versa. But the benefit of having both stores, we're across the street from the library. I think about the library exchange. If I go to Ruston's library here and they don't have something, they
I
can
can go down
borrow
the
it from
street.
Monroe and send it to me. I'm assuming the same thing there. So if you have a product that's super popular in Bossier, hasn't been popular here, maybe you don't carry it a lot, but you could come here and order it. Say, hey, can I get some of X or Y or Z or whatever? You can imagine a scenario like that. One of the things that you and I have talked a little bit about, I don't want to tell tales out of school, but merchandising is something that you're looking at long term too, right? The brand of Kush Vibez, again, as part of that education and expanding, using individual customers as billboards themselves. Nothing better than a T-shirt, man.
It's
Nothing
not,
better
man.
than a thermos.
It's
you know?
not, man. And me as a creator, like I told you, the art stuff is like me.
Well, the logo was your design, right?
Yeah, I actually drew that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. So like art is me. So for me to be able to convert something that I have made into different pieces and put it on shirts and cups and mugs and smoke trays, like that's just a dream within itself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things that I sort of thought, at first I thought it's missing. Then I thought, I think it's by choice. And you and I've talked about this too. What about,
Is that too loud?
it's pretty loud. Can we knock it off?
Yeah. Want me to do it?
No, I'll hit it.
Okay. I think if you turn it.
I just turned it off.
Oh, okay. So this is a brief intermission. Quick little intermission. Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's not picking up on our mics badly, so I think we're okay, actually. One of the things that I noticed wasn't in the store, then I realized it might be a choice. Now you and I have had some conversations about it. What about paraphernalia and accessories? You don't have any pipes or any bongs or smoking accessories, anything like that.
Yeah.
Is that something you're planning on having long term? What was the thinking in not carrying it originally?
Man, we first wanted to get our feet wet and kind of see what the public wanted and what the demographic was really demanding. So at first, it was more because people can make topicals, teas, tinctures, different things like that out of the actual flower.
Right.
So it's not a must right off. But I was like, let's see what people will really want to do with it before, so we can provide them with what they actually need, rather than just a bunch of like nicky-nack stuff that really doesn't move or go anywhere.
Right.
So we have had a lot of people requesting that, so that's kind of in the works now.
Well, and I mean, it's not like you can't find those things other places. There's lots of places to find them.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is interesting about not having that sort of thing lined up in the store as far as products, you have very much a therapy office, a wellness office, a doctor's office feel almost to the store, whereas you got a big shelf full of bongs and water pipes.
It takes away a little bit.
It looks more like a head shop.
Yes.
That's what people are thinking when they're walking through the door the first time. A lot of them are thinking, well, I've been to a head shop. I know what that looks like. That's not what this looks like. And it really is a different vibe. Having said that, though, you and I both know people want flower, and one of the reasons they want it is because they do enjoy smoking and ingesting it, whether that be vaping or smoking directly. And either way, there's so much to that experience: the smell, the taste, the ritual of it, the physical ritual,
the camaraderie of it.
You and I've talked about the social aspect of smoking. Sharing a bowl or sharing a joint and passing it around is the kind of communal experience that you can't really get from a tincture or even gummies or an edible of any kind. I mean, share a plate of brownies is one thing, but at the same time, we don't all need that many calories every day, right? So I think long term, it is something that your customers are going to ask for and you're going to want to provide. But even then, when you do, it's going to be very specific items and a specific style, right?
Yeah, we're going to make it work. The major thing, because it's not a law against smoking hemp.
Right.
You can smoke hemp. Um, Now other things amongst like regulations and different things about how we go about it is different.
And how you advertise it and how you
Correct.
market it too.
Correct.
There has to be specific
Correct.
regulations and limits on that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, that's a segment of your audience that whose money is going elsewhere right now. You know, that you'll want to capture long term, I think. And again, they're going to want you to provide it because just like we're talking about the education with what product is right for their needs,
Yeah.
the same thing goes for the manner of ingestion too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
They
definitely.
may think, oh, well, all I need is a pipe. Well, there's a lot of difference in what kind of pipe you're going to use and how you're going to use it.
It
Or
is.
vaporizers too. There are vaporizers that work well.
It is.
There are vaporizers that are junky and cheap.
And it's education in that area. That's just like how all these people are getting sick from these cartridges because they're not educated to know, hey, if this is cheap material, this can come off and go in my lungs and do damage. So they're vulnerable
Yeah.
because we are trying not to address it so tough. Because like I say, I hate to say it, but they're going to get it regardless.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean,
they're
that's,
getting it. Yeah, they're getting it regardless.
this is a huge, cannabis is a huge market. It's one of the reasons why so many companies are rushing to get in because they know the numbers already of what was an illicit market before.
Exactly.
And it's slowly becoming a legal market. It's a gold rush in many ways for these corporations. We need to make sure that they're not the only ones gaining the benefits
Yeah.
of that gold rush, right? And also to make sure that the marketing doesn't overcome the actual benefits. That's the thing that, you know, I think all the time about. I used to dream when I was a kid, well, what will be the Miller Lite of marijuana, right? What will be the brand that
And
everybody
it's on the way,
buys,
man.
that they advertise on the Super Bowl or whatever? And there will be one of those companies. What we need to make sure is that those companies, even when they get to that level, are providing quality products
That's
with
true.
real benefits, not
true.
just marketing dollars.
And
right?
not just pumping out a product just for the heck of it.
Right.
Just for the number wise of
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit specifically about this show and what you want it to be.
Yeah.
We're going to have interviews.
Definitely.
You know, this is kind of a special episode. I'm here interviewing you and introducing you in this store to the community and to the audience specifically. Most of the time, we're going to have you leading the conversation, whether that be a solo educational stint or whether it be somebody from the industry or a user, a customer, a client that you've got that has a particular great story that we're going to share. But we're going to bring all that to you in video format as often as possible, in audio format on a regular basis as well. So what we want you to do, listening to this today, we want you to subscribe. We want you to share it with friends if you've got somebody you think would benefit from this content.
Please.
And then go follow Ray on social media too. Again, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
I think not yet.
Not active
yet.
on Twitter.
But
anymore. We'll see that.
our Facebook is Kush Vibez CBD Store. And then our Instagram is Kush_Vibes_CBD.
And all of those links are going to be in the show notes
Yeah.
here too.
Because I never remember when they say the links.
Yeah, that's right. But go read the links, go follow through on
Definitely.
those and connect. And again, thank you, man. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for bringing this to our community. I'm so excited for what the future offers for this store, for your brand, and for our community members because of what you're now offering them.
Yeah. And CBD is going to be huge, man. I tell people before, I would have never believed this. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that CBD is going to be way bigger than the actual THC dominant products.
Right.
Because, man, CBD is going to be something we use for our daily life.
Right.
Something that we add to our health regimens, our beauty regimens. So it's going to be so many different avenues that CBD can go in alone. Man, it's just great to get ahead of the crowd and understand and have education on this monster of an industry because it's going to be huge.
You said it so well the other day. I was in here and you mentioned to a client, you said marijuana is going to be a Saturday night thing.
It is.
CBD's Monday morning.
It is. CBD is going to be a Monday through a Sunday ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, and you're right in the front of it. Kush Vibez CBD Dispensary in Ruston, Louisiana, coming soon to Bossier as well.
Definitely.
And online also. Speaking of online, Ray, what is your plan long-term for being able to ship product? Is that something that you're looking at as well?
Man, that's coming really soon.
Okay.
Really soon. So we're working out the kinks right now, getting all that together. And we're going to have it because that's one of the things that I really wanted in the beginning was to service people. So for the people that aren't mobile, For the people that do have health conditions that prevent them from coming in the store and getting the experience, we want to provide that to you guys online. That's why these kind of interactions and talks are so important, because they can see it from home.
Right.
Because like I said, we're in an age and in a time period right now to where everything, if it doesn't come to you, you really can't get to it. So we'll definitely be doing that in the nearby future.
And curbside drop off too is one of the things. You're going to have online orders where you can just pull up and we'll bring your bag out to you because it's already paid for and taken care of.
Definitely.
Exciting stuff coming soon, folks. So stay tuned. All of the social media feeds will have that information as it comes up. We'll be sure to talk about it here on the podcast when those things come available. Cannot wait for tomorrow with you, Ray. It's an exciting time here.
It's going to be huge.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Kush Vibez podcast with Ray Holbrook and me, Joel Sharpton, a podcast producer extraordinaire. Don't forget to check us out on social media and come back next episode to hear what Ray's got to tell us about next time.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, it's the Pain Clinic. You missed your appointment for back pain. Should we reschedule?
No need to. I went to Kush Vibez, and I'm doing great.
Your appointment for joint pain. Can we reschedule?
No thanks. I found Kush Vibez.
Your appointment for inflammation. Would you like to reschedule?
No, thank you. I found a place called...
Let me guess. Kush Vibez?
That's it. Yeah, great place.
That's what I keep hearing.
Kush Vibez in Ruston.